Hi guys, welcome to the CRAAP test video. I'm not showing my face just because, no, love you, mean it. I showed in the last one, so good enough. You see me for once this week. So talking about the CRAAP test, one big question that people have when they're doing research and compiling their own sources is, how do I know if this is a good source or not? And the CRAAP test is a great way to vet whatever you're looking for, be it a periodical or an article from an academic journal or a website or a video, and it can be very helpful to kind of vet out sources that aren't good for us or could result in like not a really great presentation. So here we go. First, the C stands for currency. When was information published or posted, has been revised or updated, is the information current or out of date, and are the links functional? The currency of a source can be kind of dependent on what you're searching for. Because if you have historical topics, it can be a little bit different. If I am trying to research the, recent findings of NASA, I would need to have articles that are definitely within the last 10 years, because if it was longer than that, it wouldn't be recent. However, if I was researching things about World War I could definitely have articles or websites from farther back than just the past 10 years, because we've known about World War I since World War I. So that way you can have more topics available to you, and you can find better information that way about World War I. But again, if you need a more recent set of data, make sure you stick to more recent publications. As far as are the links functional, if they include links or sources that way by like linking to other websites or web pages, make sure those links are functional. If they're not, that means no one's been checking up on this for a while, so that could probably be concerning. If it's been revised or updated, that means it's more current, and that's great. Relevancy, does the information relate to your topic and answer the research question? I just had this problem with a child this week. He was researching Queen Mary, and somehow he ended up looking up information about the Spanish Inquisition. Spanish Inquisition is interesting, but not at all what he's supposed to be looking up. So we don't need that kind of information. Make sure you are focused on what you are looking up. I'll be honest with you guys, if you like have McCarthyism and you're like, I don't know what McCarthyism is, then before you actually start trying to find sources, go figure out what McCarthyism is. Easy peasy, nice and cheesy. Make sure you look up a variety of sources. Generally, my rule of thumb is like if I'm looking for a website, since you guys have to find a website, I would probably find 3 different websites. I'm like, these all look like good. I would run them through this CRAAP test, and then I would find out, who has the best CRAAP score, and that's probably the website I would go to. So I know I've looked through a variety of sources and pick out the best sounding one. Are there any usable quotes or pieces of information you can find that relate? This is very important because you're going to need it to inform you. I will give a heads up because I found it out with my in-person children. Britannica is typically not very good for this, just because sometimes they're really, really short, like 2 paragraphs. You definitely need more than just 2 paragraphs on a website that you could use. So I would stick to things that are longer. Don't use Wikipedia. Don't use dictionary.com. Don't use, thesaurus.com. Make sure you actually find good web articles about your topics. So if you feel like it was relevant, you could say, yes, there are definitely at least 3 or more quotes. You would give this like points, 5 points, maybe only 2 quotes, half the points. Nothing applicable, could want, or only 1 quote, no points. Authority, who is the author, publisher, or sponsor, and are they qualified? My typical story for this is with my students. I'm a lit teacher. I've been a lit teacher for the past 3 years. I have 2.5 degrees, finishing my 3rd one in May. So let's be honest, I'm pretty good with lit. I know what I'm doing as far as teaching literature. If I showed up in your math class and said, hello, today I'm going to teach you the quadratic formula, I do not have the authority to do that. I'm not qualified to talk about that topic. Just because I'm educated doesn't mean I can talk about it. So you should probably find out if the author knows anything about your topic. Do they have other publications about this topic? Do they have a degree that could relate this? So if they're talking about Queen Mary, do they have a history degree? That could be very helpful. Do they give their credentials or organizational affiliations? So like, do they work with a university, a science team, a research team? Do they work for a newspaper? Those would all be very important. And then what is the domain of the site? I ask this not because it's required, but just to give you a cautionary tale. Here's my story. A lot of times people see a .org website and they're like, oh, .org is great because .org means organization. So this will be better information. And that's not always the case. My first year teaching here, I got this actually from a teacher, and it took down the website since we can't do it. But we would, as a whole class, we went to go look at this website, and it was about actually Martin Luther King Jr. And they're like, oh, wow, this is so interesting. So it started with like, had a picture of MLK, had the guy who had written that page, and we're like, all right, interesting. And it was a .org website. And so they clicked through, and then it went to a little bit of his biography, and students started reading it. And if they paid attention, they're like, huh, this is stuff I didn't know before. This is kind of new information to me. And I was like, okay, we'll keep reading and tell me what you think. Could this be a good source or not? And honestly, some of the kids who didn't read, they're just like, oh, it's a .org, it's great. But as they kept reading, they kind of realized, oh, this isn't great at all, because it actually was an article that was talking about why we shouldn't celebrate MLK Day and why Martin Luther King Jr. was not someone that we should celebrate. And then finally, once they got down to the bottom layer, they saw this guy was actually associated with like a KKK group. But he had put out this .org because the KKK is technically an organization, so he could have that .org affiliation. So I'm not saying don't trust .orgs, but I'm saying don't only trust .orgs because they have a .org address. Make sure you do your background to make sure that they are qualified, and make sure that they have affiliations that are, not biased towards our topic. Accuracy, is it supported by evidence? Is it been reviewed or referred? Refereed. And can you verify the information in another source? If you find the holy grail of articles like, oh my gosh, this has so much new information I've never heard of before, that might be a red flag, friends, because if we've never heard this information before, I doubt that this guy went to go do all this amazing archival search and found stuff no one else had. He's the only person who's ever published it. So if it sounds too good to be true, that this person has all these amazing brand new facts, it's probably too good to be true. The purpose: do they attempt to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? For our purposes, the best ones are to inform, to teach, and at times persuade. To sell or to entertain, we do not need for our sources. My background story for this is when I first got a cat, I was really worried about taking care of her. And so I tried to do some research and found this article about, and the article title was How Litter is Killing Household Cats. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want my cat to die. It was this very long article, and I read through it, and it was talking about how it was so bad for your cats and blah, 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 and it was terrible. And cats are dying left and right, and people didn't know it was from the litter that they were using. And finally, at the very bottom, they said, so the solution is to buy my litter. And it was so expensive, and there was nothing special about this litter except that it was purple, and like that was supposed to be what was better. So I was really upset that I wasted all my time reading that article. And then I went to go do other research to see, like, well, were their facts correct? And no, cats don't die from their litter. It can make them sneeze if it's dusty, but that's nothing that's going to hurt their lungs or coat their lungs or cause a premature death. So all this is to say, make sure you understand what they're trying to do. If they're just trying to inform or teach or even persuade you, those three can be okay. Selling or entertaining, not needed for our purposes of a research project. And I was upset because this author didn't make his intentions clear. If he had started the article by saying, here's why this litter, my litter, is better than others, I would have been better informed going in. And question if it's fact, opinion, or propaganda. Opinion can be okay as long as it's not like too strong of an opinion, but propaganda, as we know from last semester, not great for us. Feel good about that. And I don't think we need to practice. I feel okay about that. So if you can run each of your sources through the CRAAP test, which there's a page in your packet about it, and I would pick 3 websites, run it through CRAAP test, and see which one has the highest score of these points here at the bottom. That would be the website I would use. For your academic journal or your periodical source, you can still run through the CRAAP test to make sure they're okay, but honestly, if they're in an academic journal, they should pass the CRAAP test no problem. I'm going to have that video about how to do the CRAAP test up on Wednesday, so give me until then, and we'll go from there. Have a great week, and good luck with the CRAAP test, guys.